Hey, it's Shelley from Best Buy Canada's blog. This week I have been learning how to make the perfect cup of coffee. So I've got everything here that I need to make the perfect cup of coffee. I have ice cold distilled water. You don't need ice cold water, but it does have to be distilled. You don't want to use tap water because tap water will result in an aftertaste for your coffee. I have ground coffee here. Normally I would grind with my own grinder, but I need to replace my grinder now, so this ground coffee will have to do. But for the best flavor, you'll want to grind your beans right when your water is boiling. So they say to put your kettle on, let your water boil, and that's when you should grind your beans. That's for the best flavor. I have my digital scale as well as a tablespoon. You can either use a tablespoon or you can use a digital scale. For the best cup of coffee, they recommend that you use a digital scale for measuring your water and your coffee grind. And I have several different coffee makers here. I have a French press. This is a French press. This is a pour over carafe. I also have my Keurig as well as my espresso machine. You can use this, you can use the measurements for water to coffee for any of these devices. If you have a reusable K-cup, you can use it for that. But generally it's best for drip coffee makers, pour over coffee makers, or French press. So I'm going to start by measuring out my coffee. As I mentioned, you can use a tablespoon. That's usually a fairly accurate way of measuring coffee. But if you want the most precise measurements, you'll use a digital scale. So I'll just switch my scale to ounces. So I'm going to make 2 cups of coffee, so I'll put an extra bowl on here just to show you. Normally I wouldn't go through all these extra steps. I would just put it in the carafe. But I will cancel out my scale, cancel out the bowl. And to make 2 cups of coffee, you generally need 2 level tablespoons per cup, 1 to 2. So it depends on how strong you like your coffee. So you could just use your tablespoon, or you can weigh it on the scale. So the measurements are 4 tablespoons or 0.75 ounces of coffee. So as you can see right now, I'm at 0.48 and I added that and I'm at 0.62. So if I would have stopped then and just used my tablespoon, I would have just had less coffee. I wouldn't have had enough coffee, or it wouldn't have been exactly a perfect cup. So I'm just going to add a little more. We're almost, so we got it to 76. That's close enough. So we're going to take this, and we're going to pour it in our mesh filter. And now we're going to pour over the water. So I'm going to measure out the water now. It takes 24 ounces of water to make 2 cups. And the water temperature should be between 195 degrees to 205 degrees. So we have 24.4, which is fine. And I'm going to take a quick temperature with my thermometer of how hot the water is. So you generally want your water to be between 195 to 205 degrees, and that means that your kettle is going to have to be able to handle that. So my water is 176.3, so that's not hot enough. Generally, you'd like to err towards the 205 degree mark, but that'll have to do because that is as hot as my kettle will get it. Although it's not as hot as it should be, it's still hot enough to not want to touch it. So I'm going to pour it over my coffee grinds. And just give it a minute. So that's all 24 ounces in the pour over, and so we're just going to wait for it to be done, and then we'll pour our first cup. So our coffee has been brewed and it looks great. That's 2 cups of coffee right there. So what we're going to do now is talk about how we can make coffee taste better. I honestly think coffee tastes great just on its own. I will drink black coffee for the most part. I don't always have to look for milk, but in general, every single day I will drink coffee with just 2% milk, as well as 2 packs of stevia. So that's usually per 12-ounce cup, but that is my favorite coffee blend. You can use almond milk. You can use regular milk. You can add just plain sugar. As I mentioned, I add stevia, but there's also different flavored syrups that you can use to add to your coffee. So you can try 1 pump of each. We like to make something we call a nutty Hawaiian with the flavored syrups. So it would be in a 12-ounce cup, it would be 2 pumps of macadamia nut and 2 pumps of coconut. I'm just pouring myself a cup in my favorite Smokey the Bear mug. I've detailed quite a few other ways that you can add flavor to your coffee on Best Buy Canada's blog. You can add a scoop of ice cream if you'd like to. I've been in some nice restaurants where the dessert is actually just a scoop of ice cream on top of a shot of espresso. If you'd like an after dinner drink, you can also add a shot of liqueur. Bailey's is popular, so is Irish cream. And you can experiment with your milk too. There's all sorts of different kinds of milk that you can add. There's oat milk, soy milk, rice milk, and almond milk. You can even add a shot of vanilla extract. Actually, a lot of people like to do that. Or you can scrape vanilla beans into your coffee, add a little bit of milk, and you have a perfect vanilla latte. So I hope I showed you that it's not hard to make your own perfect cup of coffee at home. I actually prefer making coffee at home now over going to a coffee shop. Just because I don't have to go and stand in line, and I don't have to spend a lot of money, and I don't have to wait. I can just get up in the morning and make a great cup of coffee. I've detailed all of these tips on my post, How to Make the Perfect Cup of Coffee, on Best Buy Canada's blog. So take a look at that if you'd like to see an itemized list and an infographic that shows you exactly how to measure for how much coffee you're going to make. You can visit blog.bestbuy.ca to check that out. Thanks for watching.